Hey everybody. I actually saw this movie last week, but I wanted to spend some time to think about it because I had some pretty conflicting feelings about it. And I talked to some friends, and I realized that my thoughts on what were good and what were bad about the movie don't match everybody else's. And I guess it's fine. I'm not into spoiler territory yet. I'll warn you before I get into. I'm going to spoil the whole damn thing, but I'm going to warn you before it happens. But one of my favorite parts about stories is how each one of us react to them differently. You show a story to 5 different people, whether it be a TV show or a book or a movie, whatever, however you translate the story, and you show it to, or tell it to 5 different people, and all 5 of them are going to take it differently. They're going to identify with different parts are going to resonate differently, and it's going to mean something different to each one of them. And that's one of the things I love about stories. And it's also a storytelling device I really like, is this perception coloring reality thing, where you see an event from 2 different points of view, and it's 2 different events, essentially. So I'm okay with that. I just wanted to let you guys know that I understand what I'm about to say about the movie is not going to necessarily be the majority view. It's just mine. Doesn't make yours wrong if it's not the same. It's just my take, my version. And again, before the spoilers, recommendation, if you saw Phase 1, if you saw all the stuff leading up to this movie, if you saw the Avengers and liked it, you're going to go see this movie. You don't really need my okay to go see it. But if you did see that stuff and you liked it, this is there. This is that. You should go see it. If you were kind of iffy, if it wasn't really your cup of tea, it's more of the same. So you should probably not go see it. Spoilers. From here on in, I'm going to talk as if you've seen the movie. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm not going to dance around anything. So, first and foremost, the main point of my conflicted feelings, I think, comes from a lot of my film student background. And I should also put in the nice disclaimer that I usually do. I've started reading some of the older comics because of Avengers, and I liked it so much. But I'm still not that into it. It's still not my main go-to. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I know I don't have my background in comic books. So anything that I miss on that point, or anything that I'm wrong on in talking about that, that's where that comes from. When you're telling a story like this, that's spread out over multiple, and this is one of the first stories that's been told like this. I mean, we've had series before, but even your best film series is like 4 movies and you're out. There's the problem of topping yourself. You know, because you want your sequel to be bigger and better. You want to draw more people in. You want to build on what worked, change what didn't. And it worked. I liked Phase 1. I've got the super special edition briefcase thingy. I like it. But it was constantly building action. Bigger and bigger, until Avengers was a giant fight with aliens in New York City. And you gotta be careful. Because if you continue with that formula, considering the size of what you're trying to do here, because they're not trying to do a film series. They're trying to build a cinematic universe. That's why it's called that. They're trying to build basically an alternate reality that we get to peek in on. So you're talking 5 or 6 movies, focusing on different characters, but all in the same world. To my knowledge, something on this scale has never been done before in movies. If there has, I've missed it. And you can't keep building the action like that. I mean, I was fine with Avengers, but I was really hoping... I heard an interview with Joss Whedon that said the second Avengers would be scaled back a bit. It would be more about interpersonal stuff. It would be more in-depth with the characters, and I was happy to hear that. Because there's only so far you can build action and adventure before it becomes a cartoon. I mean, if it got to the point where every movie was saving the Earth from total destruction, it'd be... Well, it's been a rough year. The Earth's been saved from total devastation 6 times by 6 different people. Good work, team. Like, it becomes impossible for you to actually connect with the story anymore, because it's just silly at that point. Now, I realize, and we're talking about Iron Man 3, you still got to connect with the character. And I realize asking us to connect with a billionaire super genius with a power suit is a lot to ask, but he's still a human being. There are still elements of his character that we can see in ourselves or in our friends, that we can like, that we can dislike, that we can identify him as a person and not a caricature. And so what I really wanted from Iron Man 3 was less time in the suit. I didn't want him to abandon the suit altogether, but I needed to spend more time with Tony before he became this caricature. I needed the films to maintain their humanizing aspect before it became a Schumacher Batman type story. And I got that. And I was really happy about that. This movie spends a lot of time with Tony out of the suit. It spends time exploring how a person reacts to what happened in Avengers. He was fighting aliens invading New York. He almost sacrificed his life to save the city and the world. In fact, he thought he was sacrificing his life. And he's got a little shell shock from that, essentially. I like that. Because you never see that in these superhero movies. He actually reacted to something that happened. So I really liked that aspect. And I can understand there are some people who didn't want that, who just want Iron Man to be the Iron Man. And that's fine. You know, that's your thing. And that's great. I think it works better this way when you're trying to maintain integrity over something this size. It can't always be super action beat 'em up. It can't. Because then it loses all meaning. At that point, you're really watching the same movie over and over and over again. And that's what we have to avoid if we want to keep working on these Marvel cinematic films. I should have said cinematic universe films. Because cinematic films just sounded stupid, but you guys get where I'm going from. These reviews are largely stream of consciousness. I'm going to misspeak. It's going to happen. One thing I thought was a really brave choice, too, was the Mandarin. The fake Mandarin. Ben Kingsley, who pretty much just plays awesome villains. And he does these interviews in real life. Ben Kingsley went out and did interviews about being the Mandarin. And then when you see the movie, he's not. He's a stooge. It's a fake. The other guy, the Killian guy, says that he's the real Mandarin. So there is a Mandarin. But I would understand if a lot of comic book fans got upset about that, though. Like I said, it was a brave choice, because the Mandarin is supposed to be Tony Stark's greatest enemy, and they hinted at him, even in the first movie. They talked about the Circle of 10 Rings was the name of the group that kidnapped Tony, and there might have been a reference or two in the second movie, I can't remember. And then we get the fake Mandarin. I liked it because it surprised me. Movies don't surprise me all that often, and especially big Hollywood films. It is nice when they do surprise me. For example, near the end, when Pepper Potts falls into that fire, there was not one person in the audience who thought, oh my god, she's dead. We all knew she was going to come back at the last second and hit the bad guy out of nowhere, and the music would swell, and it'd be like, oh my god, you're alive, tearful reunion moment, saved his ass. We knew that was going to happen. Everybody did. That was not a surprise. The Mandarin turning out to be an actor, that was a surprise. And I loved it. I loved it because it was different. It was unexpected. Thank you for that. But again, the Mandarin's supposed to be this big important figure in the comic book world. If you hated that part of it, I don't blame you. I know some transitions and adjustments are necessary when taking taking stories from one medium to another. You know, adjustments have to be made. We turned Jarvis from being an actual butler into being an AI, these sorts of things. The fake Mandarin was not necessary. So I can understand being mad about it, but I was really happy with it. What I wasn't happy about was the ending. I was so happy that we'd spent time with Tony outside of the suit. So happy that we had spent some humanizing time. But it's like the filmmakers got scared because our ending is like 42 Iron Man suits on autopilot beating the shit out of a whole bunch of people. So happy. They toned down the action. They told a real compelling story, and then, ooh, it's almost the end. We want to make sure these people get their money's worth. Explosions! And then, after the super duper action sequence is over, he explodes all the suits. Why? Well, so we don't have them coming back in sequels, because, you know, that's ridiculously overpowering Tony Stark. But we can't say that. So he gives us the vibe that he wants to quit being the Iron Man. That's why he destroyed all the suits. Excuse me. Hi. You have an automated army of super suits. They could go out and fight crime while you sit at home drinking martinis. Like, it was a nice cinematic moment, but I did not like it. Sure, it's cool. Every fanboy in the place is like, oh my god, look at all the Iron Men, right? And they were all different designs, and they fought differently. I won't deny it was cool looking. But I feel like it undid a lot of what the movie built up to. A lot of what the movie did. It's like they added on this big action scene because they had to have one. I mean, the script easily could have been written differently so that it could have been a smaller number of people, and Tony and Rhodey could have gone in and done the thing themselves without the Iron Man army. All you'd have to do is cut down the size of the army of the opposing people, and it didn't have to be like that. And you could have still told your story. And because it was like that, then you had to make sure that it could never be like that again. I do not understand the character motivation for destroying the automated suits. He's a genius. If these things can fight crime without him, then he would, you know, at least think about it or try it. So like I said, I had mixed feelings, you know. It was kind of nice seeing Pepper Pot in the suit for brief moments here and there. I liked that. I liked her not just being the damsel in distress the entire time. Because that's a stereotype that gets old really quick. I hate when I see in a movie, you know, the hero and the villain are fighting and strangling each other or hitting each other with things, and the girl just sits by watching like, oh my god, look at him! Oh my god! Honey, if you're with me, and I'm fighting with this guy and we're like trying to strangle each other, I want you to grab something heavy and hit him. Help out. Throw something at him. Do something that distracts him but not me. Anything. Participate. I hate that. And at least Pepper, you know, gets in there a couple of times in this movie, and I liked that. So, like I said, I had mixed feelings about the movie, but from some people I've talked to, they had mixed feelings too, but theirs were the exact opposite. They didn't like spending time with Tony one-on-one. They loved the action sequences at the end. Stories resonate different for different people. I like a little bit more depth to mine from time to time. I've said this before. I was somewhat of a pariah in film school because I would defend the existence of these mainstream Hollywood films. You know, I would say things like, yes, it's important to have films like Primer or other independent films, films that challenge you and make you think. But I think it's also okay to have films that just entertain. To every now and again, shut off your brain and just enjoy a fun story. I think there's room for both in this world. But still, I'm a little biased towards having just a little bit of thought in my action flicks. And this one had it for a while. I liked that. Disappointed with the ending, but not so much that I'm off the Marvel Cinematic bandwagon. I'm looking forward to Thor 2. I'm looking forward to Captain America 2. I don't know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy at all. I've never heard of them before. But it's being directed by James Gunn, who I do like as a writer and as a director. So I am looking forward to that too, because I really like James Gunn. He does stranger stuff. He's definitely an indie film guy, so it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table. So anyway, there are my thoughts on Iron Man 3. Trying to think if I left anything out. I don't think I did. No, I'm pretty okay with that. So, there you go. I'll see you next time.